If we do the math, here's yeah, you like statistics. 80,000 guys have gone through our weekend since 1985. And the math on any given year in the United States is over 1 million volunteer hours put in by guys intentionally sitting down to support one another in being the better men they know they can be.
Boysen Hodgson is the communications director for the Mankind Project USA. He's the author of The New Macho and a leading voice in men's emotional development and cultural transformation. Really excited to have you here.
Thank you.
And let's dive into who you are and what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what motivates you and also about your work in the Mankind Project and what that is.
What motivates me? That's what pops to mind right now in this space. This week, I did one of the things that I do is just like little sidebar thing in amongst the other things that I'm doing is I actually interview guys who have just gone through our weekend intensive, the New Warrior Training Adventure. And so this week on the same day, I had 2 testimonial interviews. One was with a 38-year-old dad with a 7-year-old and a 17-month-old. And the other was with, I don't actually know how old the other gentleman was, but somebody close to 70. And the 38-year-old talking about what it's meant in how he is present with his kids and what his wife has recognized in him. And the thing that I have heard over and over and over that motivates me is partners and friends and people around guys who are involved in the work saying, I knew this was who you are. I knew this was in there. I've been seeing this in you, and I'm so glad that you're seeing it too. Like, that motivates me every day. And that motivates me, like, the reason that I have been going to a men's group for over 20 years is because I get to see that over and over and over.
So cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And it's so human to see like a growth in someone else, and super inspiring. And so what kind of work are these guys doing that's generating such positive movements?
Consistent themes that definitely come up and that are true for me, and I could tell you a little bit of my story too. But consistent themes are like, I've known about this belief. I've known about this thing. I've had this, like, I'm not good enough. I don't deserve to be able to communicate. I don't know what I want, and I'm not supposed to know what I want, or I can't know what I want. I can't express my emotions because it is going to be dangerous, or I'm going to get lost in it, or, whatever that kind of thing. Men are out here in the world carrying burdens. And what the Mankind Project does is create spaces where men get witnessed and supported to unpack those burdens and find the relief and freedom that comes from no longer carrying the stuff that they've been holding on to. So that's really what a lot of it boils down to. Okay, with those beliefs out of the way and with some understanding of what's been motivating me, what's been driving my behavior, now what? And Mankind Project, through the weekend intensive, through the New Warrior Training Adventure, every man comes out with a written mission statement for himself based in, here's who I was, here's what happened to me, here's the world that I want to see, here's what I can do to create the world that I want to see. And now with that in focus and an understanding of the stuff that's been driving me, it's like, okay, now who I want to be in the world. What impact do I want to have today? Did that answer the question?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What is the significance of doing that work like elsewhere? Like you go away on a retreat. How is that different than, I don't know, work or release that you might get on the phone or elsewhere?
That's a great question. So we've been around Mankind Project has now been around for 40 years. And the guys who came up with this idea without knowing what they were doing, and they all kind of said that, we had no idea what we were doing, thought that one of the things that they needed to do was get men out of what they're used to. So, later, 10 years down the road from when it started, they started talking about it as an initiation process, as a rite of passage for adult men to go through. And one of the keys to that initiation process is separation from the known. So that hero's journey, step across the threshold into the unknown world, encounter a lot of things that confront you, that hold up a mirror to your life. So what we've been doing for all this time is not like fancy retreats at a retreat center. These are normally kids camps. Sometimes we do what we call raw weekends or outdoor weekends, where it's like you're in a big white tent out in the middle of a field kind of stuff. We are going to separate you from what you've known. You are not going to have your phone. You are not going to have your computer. You are not going to be connected to the world. You are going to be a man among a whole bunch of other men there with a singular purpose to go through this process and come out. And what I hear from a lot of men, and what I would say to men who are interested in the process is, yeah, this is going to be confrontational. This is going to be hard. And trust the process. Trust that you're strong enough to get through it, and just go for the ride. And in going for the ride, you're going to discover a whole lot about yourself, and you're also going to get to witness and discover a whole lot about other men.
Cool. In a similar vein, what is the process of doing that in a group? Like, why is it important? You're not just alone in your tent with your journal, and you're with other men.
Yeah, it was an eye opener for me. I was 33 years old, 2004. I had known about the training. I had known about the organization. I had said, no, thank you. No, thank you. I'm an island unto myself. I have all my books. I'm, living that kind of a bookish life up here, up in my head. Being in a space where I was not only challenged to get out of my head and get connected to what was actually going on underneath that, I got to see other men do that. So some of the most powerful moments that I've had, and this is true for a lot of guys, is getting to see, like, in a felt sense, I am absolutely not alone. No matter how horrible I think my story is, no matter how alone I think I am, no matter what I've been through, there's another guy right there and another guy right there and another guy right there who has some kind of similar story to me. And not only that, I get to support him and witness him in doing what he needs to do the work.
And in the environment that you've created, and the fact that it's elsewhere and it's separate from your life intentionally, what is the best way to get continuity and and practice it in your life?
That's awesome.
With all your triggers and stuff like that?
Another great question. Yes. So one of the things that they didn't do, the guys who designed the work designed a training. They called it the Wild Man Weekend, 1984. They had no idea what they were going to build, but as soon as men started going through that process, they would come out the other side as groups, and they would say, we want to continue. And they would started forming men's groups. So now, 40 years later, we have about 750 men's groups in the U.S., over 1,000 in 26 countries, 27 countries, 28 countries around the world. And the continuity of the work, we talk about the initiation process, is incomplete without integration. So we have a follow-on training that comes with the price of our weekend. I just whacked the microphone. Follow-on training that comes with the price of the weekend, where men get some more skills, some actual tools around integrating the work, and then ongoingly connecting with a men's group, with a peer support group, where I get to go every week, and it's not the same kind of intensity. It's not the same kind of space, but I get to go and sit with, it was 14 guys this past Wednesday night, and be with men in their everyday lives to say, work sucks right now. This is what's going awesome right now. Here's the goal that I'm working on in my life. Here's what I need to put down. And I get to do that, and I get to support other guys doing that.
Cool. Very cool. In like the broader structure of the tools of like peer support, a retreat elsewhere, there's other organizations, other practices, other theses in the space. Where can those go wrong? Where do you think mankind goes right? And I'm asking just because I see other offerings, and some are, we'll toughen you up if you do this, or we'll go here and you come visit us and we'll fix everything in one fell swoop. So
yeah,
how do you see that landscape of offerings for men who are interested in this structure, going to go away somewhere separate from my life, find support, do a really good work, and then come back and practice it?
Yeah. Where do we go right? Where do we go wrong? I think that those are both really good questions. So there's lots of pitfalls in any kind of personal development work. Mm-hmm. And this is true in the Mankind Project. It's true in every other kind of work that I've seen, that it is easy to get into, even in personal development, right? It's easy to get into a rut. It's easy for me, it's easy for men to get stuck in kind of a recital of the same old stuff, to get comfortable. You know, well, okay, so I had this transformation. I'm not doing things the way that I used to, but I'm doing things in this new way that still might not be serving me. This idea of belly button gazing is something that I've seen, that I see happen, that we have to kind of shake ourselves out of. I think it's easy to get complacent, right? It's easy to not do the things that I need to do to keep being the kind of person that I want to be in the world. And if you go looking for people to support you in staying complacent and staying who you are and staying the way you've always been, you'll find them. Mm-hmm. And if you go looking for intentionally setting up spaces where you're going to get, there's that guy. That guy's in the circle. That guy is always going to challenge me. That guy's in the circle. That guy is always going to ask me a tough question to keep me moving. And I think that the Mankind Project, we've had the advantage of just a whole lot of repetition, a whole lot of reps over a whole lot of time to try and hone in on some kind of core processes that work to shake us up. And okay, can you get more present in your life? Can you get more personally responsible in your life? Can you process what's happening through your body so that you understand it? Can you get a new perspective? Can you learn to parse out the difference between data, judgments, and feelings in the situations that you're in so that you can be more clear with people? There's a whole lot of things that, we got a process for that. We got a process for that. And it's teachable and it's learnable so that men in this kind of peer support work, the way we practice it in our group is like, okay, I got a piece of work to do tonight. Who do I want to facilitate? Got it. Josh, will you facilitate? Josh has been around for a while, or somebody else, very new to facilitation. We're going to work with you. We're going to help you through it. So that kind of group process, group coaching. So it's not centered on one person. It's not centered on a guru in the room. It's centered on all of us coming together and supporting each other.
Yeah, I think the distinction between the guru and the room is important. So it's not top down.
Yes.
It's each space is different due to who shows up, and it's more the container around it that's consistent, but the people in it being different every time. Is far more organic and personal to the people in there.
Yes.
As a communications director, you are like, you have this inner knowledge of how it works and what it's like, and you've seen the work done in mankind so personally. How do you communicate it out to the world who has no context and may have like knee-jerk reactions of, this is scary, I'm not touching this, I'm fine, I don't need this? How do you communicate? How do you market like the authenticity of what's really going on?
Yeah, something that I've been saying, and this goes back to that kind of hero's journey idea, is that there's a call, right? And most men are walking around and they know that there's a little voice inside most of us that says, you know, I really could look at that, but I really don't want to. I really could. I know that there's something to do there. And so, you know, in my role, it's just, can we have enough men out there that when a guy hears the call and is willing to take a step forward, that we're present. And I think that, you know, here's a pitfall of Mankind Project and a lot of other men's work. It's not something that I'm going to dominate you into doing. It's not something that a partner, like, this is a very key question that we ask, like, are you doing this for you? Mm-hmm. Because if you're doing this just to please your partner, please your wife, it's not going to happen. So the invitation for this kind of work is, are you hearing a call? Are you willing to trust yourself enough? Are you willing to trust some other men just enough to take that next step? And then we got you, right? We've walked this path. We'll walk the path with you. It's not going to be perfect. We're going to fuck up. You're going to fuck up. I didn't ask about swearing on the podcast.
It's too late.
You're going to mess up. We're going to mess up. But we'll be here for you. And it is scary. And I mean, I said no. I have 6 brothers.
Wow.
5 of whom went through this process before I did. Right? Mm-hmm. And I said no for a very, very long time. And when I just had these 2 conversations, right? 38-year-old guy had heard about it 15 years ago from somebody else in his life. And this older guy had been participating in other work for decades. And then they got to a point where it's like, okay, I know I'm ready. Mm-hmm. And then it's just taking a
that's
step.
cool. And it's like knowing that it's an option and is out there leaves it up to you for the timing of when you engage with it. Because I know, like, everyone has their own interpretation of like what that nudge or that call is. Like, I know what mine is, and I hear it, and it's like, where do you not feel great about certain spaces, but they're scary to poke?
Yes.
There are certain things about me or my life that are pretty easy in a day-to-day to just not deal with.
Yes.
Like, life goes on, but it's like a little like, hey, you should probably take a look at that at some point, and you do it later. But it's so I think that's kind of what it feels like to me. But I think everyone has the other nudges and pokes of like, oh, this is where I want to be better, or I have guilt or shame or anger or frustration over this, and I feel stuck, and I should probably do something to unblock it, but I'm too busy, or it's not bad enough right now, and it's not a problem yet, and I'll deal with it later.
Yes.
And timing does matter. Like
Timing matters.
And also being able to carry on with your life despite that is an important skill. Like you can't just collapse every time there's a problem that pops up, and you can't just pack up all your bags and leave on any given weekend.
Right.
Things go on in life. So it is an important survival, just skill technique to push on. But that's what the call, when you said that, that's what it kind of felt like to me. And I'm sure everyone has their own urge or push of, I need to work on this or that.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll bring a process from men's group into the room with us. One of the things that we think about is, can you look at a path ahead and think about, okay, so maybe it's a year from now, maybe it's 2 years from now, maybe it's 5 years from now. Can you put together a vision of who you want to be in the world and what you want to be doing in the world and how you want to be feeling and showing up in the world? Who do you want to be? Go out to that point ahead in the future. Turn around and look back at where you're standing right now. What was the first thing that you did to get from where you're standing right now to that more beautiful place that you want to be in 5 years from now? This might be a part of that for you.
Working backwards.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, I can share mine. It's for me, one of the things I'm working on, and in the 5 years out, is like this emotional range that's really wide, and wide even in front of other people. So like one-on-one or in a group, because I've felt, and I'm sure this is common of like a kid or growing up, they're like the range is really wide.
Yes.
And then it kind of narrows as you build your own narrative, your own story. This is who I am. This is what people expect. And I do think like personality and profile wise, like I can come off chill or calm, but that's not 100% of my emotional range. But then it becomes both an expectation and self-fulfilling prophecy. So working backwards from that, I think it's the first step is like working through anxiety or fear around like perception that's different than what people expect. Yeah. So if I'm really sad or like really excited and really like goofy or silly, that's not calm, serious, smart perception. And so I think, but making like concrete first steps of like, I think the root of this around this is like anxiety or fear of like judgment. Yes. And so that is, I mean, it's a really cool way to put framework around this like vague feeling of like, oh, I want to feel and just not only because I do feel it, it's more like display wider, you know? So I think those, I don't know, I was trying to model the techniques. Jumping back to work at Mankind, I want to talk about the passage of time. Yeah. Because you've been involved with this for 20 years, but Mankind is 40 plus years old. So there's been just huge transformation culturally. Yes. With regards to men's work, what it means, who shows up, and what the experience is like. So as best you can, like, that's a huge span of time. Like, what are some of the changes you've seen?
Yeah, man, it is a huge amount of time. And what I would say is that at some core level, like how guys show up and what guys show up looking for to the Mankind Project hasn't changed in 40 years. And I think that is structural, right? There are all kinds of overlapping structures in place. Masculinity and manhood is dimensional. It's discourse. It's not a fixed thing. It's a dialogue between, It's a dialogue between your upbringing. It's a dialogue between, where you were born in the world, the skin you were born into in the world, the political structures around you, the social structures around you, the educational structures around you, your family structures around you. All of those things overlap. And many men end up at some point in their lives thinking, all the things that I was told I was supposed to do and told I was supposed to be, and the structures around me, it's not working. That's when they find this kind of work, right? So, and some guys, hi dad, go out and buy Corvettes. And some guys say, yeah, maybe that ain't it. Maybe there's a different path that I can take. And here's what I'll say about shifts in the generations. The way that personal growth work was framed back in the 70s and 80s is very different today. The kinds of insights into psychology insights, neurodevelopment insights, social development, social emotional learning. What was that? Mm-hmm. All of these things are much more embedded in the culture. These kinds of conversations are way more embedded in the culture, or way more common. So we see men coming to us who, if they don't have a felt understanding, they at least have language for a lot of the things that we teach. So Mankind Project has had to adapt and evolve to kind of up our game around how we're working, the subtleties that we're working in, the complexity that we're working in. Masculinity, manhood is way more diverse on the surface than it was 40 years ago, right? That it is much more permissible in today mm-hmm. to be different kinds of men. And I'm going to shout to our own podcast, Mankind Podcast, where we say we're breaking the molds of modern manhood to prove that there's more than one way to be a man. More men are aware of that these days, that there's a range, there's lots of ways to be a man. So we've changed in pretty significant ways to go through that. And back in the day, the training and the community was much more combative, was much more confrontational, that kind of encounter therapy stuff from the 70s, where it was very in your face. It was incredibly raw. We still do very intense process, and there's a little bit less of that kind of machismo. I'm going to say that, machismo kind of embedded in the work. We're subtler mm-hmm. than we used to be.
Was the 80s, 90s, was it used as a technique to like marketing? Like this work is okay because it's manly?
I don't know that they consciously did that. And that was definitely part of the culture, because we've always had to, and we still have to confront, the new Macho. You talked about the new Macho. One of the biggest comments, or the kind of running threads, themes of commentary that I get on the new Macho every time it gets out there and people start commenting on it again, is this was definitely written by a chick. This was definitely written by a woman. And the Mankind Project has always kind of had to face that the work we're actually doing is emotional, sensitive, vulnerable, nurturing. This is men nurturing one another. This is men creating intimacy, creating, partnership relationships to help each other. And there's, a knee-jerk reaction in the culture to say, ooh, that's gay. Oh, that's whatever. Oh, that's too feminized. Oh, that's too whatever. So I think that unconsciously they probably projected that out as a way to attract. And there's still, there's dozens of men's organizations out there today that is their whole marketing approach is we'll toughen you up. But then when you pull back the curtain, what they're actually doing is social emotional learning.
Yeah.
They're just trying to teach it in different ways.
Trojan horse.
Bait and switch.
I mean, I think it has its place for I don't know, getting to reach a guy who might, like, different messaging works for different people.
Totally.
And if it gets you in the room where you're doing some self-reflection, then it has its place. But what I'm hearing over the 40-year passage is like dealing in greater nuance and subtlety as more and more varied perspectives come in on the surface. Like, it was probably always that way, but just displayed more uniformly in the 80s and 90s. Like, masculinity and men have always been always been complex and diverse, but displayed very uniformly, and now it's becoming a little bit more aligned.
And I think I'm proud of this about the Mankind Project, is that we have also really leaned in on kind of developing intercultural competence and developing kind of a more macro understanding of the kind of system stuff, so that we can get in a room and be together in a big group and say, yeah, we're all just men. Okay, now let's dive a little deeper and say, okay, we're all just men. And there are groups of men in this room that the culture impacted in very different ways than other groups in this room, right? So there are group dynamics happening, whether we want to be conscious of them or not. I think that the Mankind Project has made a lot of headway in bringing that into the forefront so that we can say, okay, yeah, there's individual dynamics, there's interpersonal dynamics, there's group dynamics happening. Can we start to pull the curtain back and look at some of the kind of cultural shadow or cultural baggage that we're carrying as groups, and then learn to respect and honor and celebrate and work through the messiness, the friction that's going to come up around those things. So that is another huge evolution, and it's been painful for white middle-class educated dudes to kind of wrap their heads around that in some ways. And I feel really proud of the work that a lot of us have done to make space. And it's not, come in and sit at our table. It's, hey, what kind of table do you want to build in the organization?
How do you teach the teachers?
That's a great, with consistent pain. I mean, like, what's true is, so we have, we've got the New Warrior Training Adventure. We have the integration training. We have integration groups. We also have a leadership training series. We also have intercultural competence work. We also have conflict resolution work. We also have work around like diversity. We have work around understanding frameworks, understanding these kinds of systems that we're in. And so as men progress, if you want to get from here to here, if you want to be kind of empowered to lead at a certain level, then you're going to have to do work. So there's a strong culture of mentorship. There's a strong culture of peer feedback. There's a strong culture of this kind of interaction, right? Every staff, the New Warrior Training Adventure and our peer support groups. But on the training adventure, if you go as a participant, you're going to be one of 20 to 35 guys going as a participant. The staff is going to be 45 to 60 men who all paid to be there, some of whom have done this once before, their own training, some of whom have done 100 of these weekends. With all of that kind of experience, all placed into the container to learn from each other, to give each other feedback, and to kind of keep improving. And it's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult.
So it's an almost 2-to-1 staff. Wow.
Yes.
Cool. And I guess they're learning every time they're participating as well.
Yeah, I've staffed 14 weekends, and every time I staff, I get something new. I get some other little piece of awareness or some other little thing that opens up or some other reinforcement of the places where I'm still tender and have things that don't want to be poked.
Mm-hmm. Is the only criteria being ready and you feel willing and I want to do this? Is there anyone who contraindications for the work?
Yeah, there are some. So Mankind Project is not group therapy. It is a therapeutic process, but it's not a substitute for professional services. It's not a substitute for addiction treatment. It can be contraindicated for, guys have to be, if you have complex post-traumatic stress, or if you have a number of different kind of mental health diagnoses, then we're going to have some serious conversations with you around fit and appropriateness and timing and all of those kinds of things. So it's not like if you need to go to a rehab, you need to go to a rehab. You don't need to go to the New Warrior Training Adventure. Maybe a year from now, if you've been doing the work, it might be a good fit for you. But yeah, you got to be 18 years old. You got to identify as a man, and you got to be ready to go.
If you put it on like a hierarchy of needs, where does it fall?
That's fascinating. I certainly know stories of guys in the Mankind Project who were in just kind of survival. There are plenty of stories, even in my own family, like, okay, I decided I was going to do this or kill myself. And those stories are out there in the Mankind Project. So there is that kind of survival thing. But for most guys, what it is I'm up here. A lot of the guys who come in terms of demographics, we're a fairly educated bunch across all of the ethnic and racial stuff. We're a fairly educated bunch. Most of us are, in middle class-ish, whatever that means today. And there are things that aren't working in our lives. And that's usually what drives it. Mm-hmm. I want to be a better dad. I want to be better in my marriage or partnership. My career is stale and stagnant, and I know I want to do something else, but I haven't been able to get up the courage to take the next step.
It's like, I'm okay, but I want to change this or that.
Some level you got to know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's helpful to frame like what readiness and fit means to someone listening.
Yeah. It's a challenging experience. It's not for every guy. And coming out the other side, it's like 90% of the guys go through it, say this was a life-changing experience.
What is the role of the people around the participant? So when they get home, so maybe the role of a partner, family, friends, colleagues, folks who don't identify as man. So what is? Do they have a role? Do they know what's going on? Like what expectations around?
That's something that's changed over the years too. That the whole concept of, secrecy or secret male society kind of stuff that was way more common mid-century and earlier. That doesn't exist, right? There's no such thing as a secret these days. So any person can go online and read about what we do and read about what the weekend entails. And we have an informed consent process that is built into registration for guys to go through. If you want to learn more about actually what's going to happen, click here. We'll share with you. If you want to ask questions, we'll walk you through those questions. Support is a key question that we ask for readiness. It's like, okay, what are you going home to? And do you have people in your life who are there to support you? And do they know that you're going through this process? Most of the time that is, yeah, my wife it was my wife who handed me the piece of paper that said, you need to look up the Mankind Project. And then 6 years later, I decided maybe it was time to do something about it. If men are in a therapeutic relationship, have a conversation with your therapist. Hey, I'm thinking about going to this pretty intensive thing that could help me move my therapy forward. That's what we hear from. This was true for me, right? It really helped me get much more clear about what work I was doing in one-on-one therapy and what I needed to do. Yeah. So, and after the weekend, we do a thing called a homecoming, which we invite friends and family and anyone to come and be with other men in the community, with guys who were on the staff, with the other participants who were there. A lot of guys these days, this day and age, WhatsApp groups get formed immediately. Participants will form, finish the weekend, put together a WhatsApp group. They'll still be communicating with each other, have kind of group chat stuff going, which is, So integration is key. Integration is important.
Mm-hmm. Is there like I don't know, for ways in which participants can like explain to the people around them, like is there any guidance on like
It's tough.
what am I doing this weekend?
Different guys say different stuff, and the advice that we give on Sunday is speak to your experience. So here's what happened to me on the weekend. I went to the weekend, and Friday night I was like, what the hell am I doing here? What is this? This is crazy. This is difficult. And why am I here? And da-da-da-da. And getting confronted with, early processes in the weekend are around accountability. Like, do you do what you say you were going to do? And what are the impacts of your choices around what you do and what you don't do? We do a process called What's at Risk, which is around, so all of us are living in some kind of catch-22 around the things that we want for ourselves. I could change, I could stay the same. What does it look like to do? We do group processes, team building, some team experiments, some one-on-one work, some journaling, some visualization work, like story work and visualization work. Saturday, I went through this process where all of these guys supported me, just me, to do a piece of emotional work that I didn't even know I had in me, that led me to a feeling of freedom from something that had been sitting on me for decades. And then I got to see a whole bunch of other guys do a whole bunch of other different processes to get the same outcome, freedom. And then we celebrate Saturday night, and then Sunday we come back and we do a bunch more processes around continuing to integrate and write a mission statement and examine what's going to get in the way of me living my mission. We're going to have a really frank conversation about sex and sexuality. And we're going to do a process to kind of get ourselves regrounded, to look around, to feel the air, to feel the wind, to be at a fire, and to reconnect. And then we're going to go home. So there, I just took you through the whole weekend. Do you have any idea what you're about to experience?
No. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. Like, you got to experience it. The menu is not the meal.
Mm-hmm. Is there a story that has stuck with you, either your experience or someone else's experience with protecting privacy, that has just stuck with you as it's like, here's one way something could change in your life, yours or someone else's?
Here's one way something can change in your life. I could tell a couple of stories, but I'll tell a story for a man who actually passed away fairly recently, Jack Palin, Captain Jack. And he went through the New Warrior training. He was an older man who went through the New Warrior training. He was Vietnam era veteran. And when he did the training, he he wasn't clear about what his process was going to be. He didn't know what he was going to be. And he's definitely like an elder among all of these guys, right? And what happened was they got to a point on the carpet where I don't remember who was facilitating. I don't remember who was standing there. Just said, do you feel like you ever got welcomed home? And he said no. And they found all the other men on staff and in the participants who were veterans who had served. And they lined them all up. And they welcomed him home. And like, I'm emotional thinking about it. And this was 15 years ago. And they welcomed him home. And it transformed his life to have that welcome.
Yeah.
Right? And then I'll tell a story for me. On my weekend, I did my piece of work, which was like, oh my God, I did this piece of work. I feel free. And then as the time goes on, you might get picked to play a role in someone else's work. And so another guy was doing a piece of work who's still a dear friend of mine today. And he wanted to look at, he had been very badly bullied. And it got to a point and the facilitator looked at him and said, okay, look around the room, pick somebody who represents the energy of the guys who bullied you when you were in high school. And he went, you, to me. And I was bullied. Like, being a bully was not my story, right? But he picked me to play the guy who bullied him. And stepping into that energy, stepping into that predatory, what I never did, how I never was, vicious energy, changed something in me about, I'm actually capable of that. The thing that I would most deny about who I am, totally capable of it. That's changed that has probably one of the single greatest things that has impacted my marriage. Knowing that I actually have that kind of energy in me, so that now when it gets pointed out, like, oh yeah, there you are. There's that, condescending, judgmental, patronizing, mean. Oh yeah. Yep, that's in here too.
Thank you for sharing. Really powerful stories. I think for Jack, like, I can feel that weight of like,
yeah,
that's just massive to kind of do some like fixing of the fence that had that big hole in it of not feeling that welcome. To get that is really powerful. And then your example is so interesting because it's almost like an inverse example. Yeah. It's like I didn't reveal this, like, oh, I had this softness or goodness in me. It was like, oh, I have the capacity for this negative force, which is really interesting and allows you to see something that probably is a knee-jerk denial. That's not me.
That's not me.
That's not me.
Yeah.
And it isn't you, but the capacity is in there and can be revealed in patterns in your life. And so it really makes me think as well as like, it's not just searching and exploring for all the good parts. Where can I be kind and wise and gentler and a better communicator? It's let me adopt like someone who I can't see being me. Yeah. Someone a bully or anger or rage, like adopting that to see, and you won't be that person, but where can those traits play out?
And I think yes, thank you. That is absolutely core to the work, is an idea about what we hide, repress, and deny in ourselves, the kind of Jungian shadow, the idea of the unconscious stuff that drives my behavior. And for me, that inner bully that I developed as a result of being bullied ran my life. The fear of being ridiculed, the fear of other people's judgments, the fear of being taunted, the fear of being hit, like actually hurt, ran my life. Being able to get in touch with that, it transformed something, right? The opposite's also true. We'll get, tattoo-covered Marines, men who just have 2 inches of steel plate over themselves, right? And inviting them to a place where they can get to the place where, in some way, that armor cracks. And they can actually step into being the vulnerable, soft, loving person that's underneath. Because every single man, like this idea of men as simple creatures, men as not emotional, whatever. We are deeply emotional beings. And knowing that helps create different kinds of relationships.
Yeah, the examples of like the different directions that the learning can go shows how nuanced it is and how personal it is to whoever is showing up.
Right.
And how important that's your example is such a good example of the like interpersonal dynamic. Like that doesn't happen if that specific man isn't there. Like it may have come out in other ways, but that interaction which prompted that thinking is because he was there, which is really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've gotten to play lots of roles, and there's some part of it is just like, go for it. Just go for it. I'm going to look silly sometimes. I'm going to be in uncomfortable, weird positions. It's worth it.
Yeah. Well, now it reminds me back to like my 5-year goal. So I'll commit on the podcast that I'm going to do a mankind retreat. So, I mean, that's easy. Yes. And it's like, especially for like for the witnessing and like the adopting different roles, personalities, like that's exactly what that like display of emotional range is. So that's just an easy click for me. So I encourage other people who feel a click of like, oh, that could answer a call, and I don't know, maybe it'll be next year, the year after, like when it's time. But that's an easy yes. So really cool. Yeah, really cool to like kind of feel deeply what it's like. And I know my experience or someone else's experience would be completely different. But just to have such strong like human interaction connections in pursuit of self-discovery and improvement is incredible.
Yes.
Incredible. And like without the space, like that's hard. It's difficult to do organically and alone. Yes. Yeah, it'd be great if no one needed that and everyone could just go out in their communities and connect with others like that. But the lives and stories we build around ourselves are lots of time protective. Yes. And they don't allow for that. Yeah. So the retreat, the exiting with the intention to do that is really important because it doesn't happen by itself. Right. Because it doesn't feel easy. It's not comfortable. It's not the path of least resistance.
No, it's not. And, what if the what if is, what if you had a place that you got to go on a regular basis where you would feel deeply loved, deeply seen, deeply listened to, and free to express yourself in a way that's safe, right? I do this, and I hear guys do this a lot. I show up on Wednesday night, and it's like, I didn't want to get in my car. I didn't want to come here tonight. I don't really feel like being here tonight. Whatever it is. And then 2 hours later, it's like, whew, wow, thank goodness I was here. Mm-hmm. And then I get to go home. And, this was the case this week. Absolutely. I did some good work this week in group.
Nice.
And when I come home from group, my wife says, "Are you fixed?" And I say, "Yep." And we both know that's not true. It's just, it's maintenance. But she also gets to see, I walk into the house and she says, "Oh yeah. Okay." Because my frame is different. How I'm carrying myself is different. The relief, it's visible. We know each other physically, even if we're not talking about it, right? And that's true for all of us. Mm-hmm. We know each other, even if we're not talking about it. So let's create spaces where we can actually talk about it. And that frees us all up to be more of who we want to be.
Yeah. The activation energy is always higher than the actual work.
That's well said. Yes. Scientifically.
I fight it every day. The activation. My activation energy is high, the threshold. Mm-hmm. And when I can't beat it, the days are not good. When I don't have the activation energy to do the exercise, mental or physical, or do the work, it never feels good. But it doesn't get easier. Like there's activation energy every time of like, I have to get up and get over this threshold. And then once you're in the activity, it always feels good. Like you don't regret going to the gym.
Totally.
So I that practice, doing it even when you don't feel good, is so key.
Yeah, there's that guy on TikTok who does the "I do it anyway." I do it mad. I do it glad. Yes, that's absolutely true. And here's an emotional labor thing, right? So most heterosexual men, if we are in primary relationships with the women, outsource emotional stuff to the women in our lives. So if you are a woman listening to this, or you are a man in a partnership listening to this, and you've heard some version of, I'm not your mom, or, I'm not your motivator, I'm not your coach, whatever it is. Therapist. Yeah, I'm not your therapist. Like, here's a place to put that where you are taking responsibility for it that will help you, right? And I've got buds on my phone now who will send me a text message like, "Oh yeah, man, the story I'm telling myself about myself really sucks right now." And I can just say, "Yeah, I hear you. Go to the gym." Or do whatever it is, mm-hmm. right? And then I also get to share with guys like, I did it. I did the thing, right? It's great.
Yeah. The accountability for yourself and for your friends lowers the burden on the partnership.
Yeah.
And it's critical. We're coming up on time.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's other things. Well, I'll open up the floor. Are there other things that you want to share? Messages to people listening that you want to share, where people can find you?
Oh yeah, totally. So I'm at boysenh.com, BOYSENH.com. Find the Mankind Project just by searching for Mankind Project or Men's Group. You'll find us on Google, mkpusa.org. We will run 50 weekend retreats, 55 weekend retreats in 2026. There's one that is in the United States alone. There will be one that is close enough to you to get you there. We have online groups and in-person groups all over the country. There's something there for you. And imagine your life 1% better tomorrow and 10% better next year. There's a whole lot that you can do.
I like quantifying that because it prompts what would be the 1%.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking about like what incremental thing. 10% feels big, but I can see the things that would fit into that 10%, and it forces you to conceptualize like what in my life would meet that 1%, which is cool.
Yeah. Yes. Me too.
Well, thank you so much for being here, sharing your work. So grateful for your work, that it's out there for me to access, for people listening to access. It's an incredible space. And when you think about all just the individual interactions that it's fostered over 40 years, it's just mind-blowing scale.
If we do the math, here's you like statistics. 80,000 guys have gone through our weekend since 1985. And the math on any given year in the United States is over 1 million volunteer hours put in by guys intentionally sitting down to support one another in being the better men they know they can be.
That's huge. And it just totally breaks the narrative of you're alone or guys don't care. 1 million hours of just guys helping guys totally shatters that narrative. So it is out there and accessible.
Yes. Thanks.
Huge. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
That's a wrap.